everybody doing? It's Tailz from Studio Wildfire here. Still, you'd think I would have gotten into the habit by now, but I'm still setting up. Good morning! Good morning! I'm out doggy sitting and getting my stuff in ready. And turning on the fan because it's starting to get hot here. My goodness. I should be ready by now, but I'm not. I'm so slack. But anyway, while I get bits and pieces ready, I'm going to be doing a bit of drawing today, because I need to work out a scene for my next up-and-coming adventure, which I've thought about. I've got ideas, I've got plans, but I haven't. I fleshed out the main part. The bit that I want to work on is sort of like it's like a little encounter. Because when I get my computer ready, I'll sort of draw it, or give you a better idea of what I'm planning. Pardon me. So I put this over there, put that there. Okay. Then I get my tablet down so I can draw on it. There we go. And there we go. I've got a pointer on the screen. Okay, so this map that you can see here on the screen at the moment. There we go. Hopefully I don't have to reset Wacom, because Wacom often likes being reset. Where is my pen tip? There we go. Excellent. You can always tell if the Wacom tablet needs to be reset because it loses. See how I can draw a line with different degrees of grayness in it? I can do that because the tablet detects the pressure that I'm pressing on the screen. Push my tablet back a bit. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so this is the little map that I gave to players the last time they played, or in the last adventure module. And it's actually a let's go to view 100%. So it's actually a map from the dwarven settlement called the Bolt Hole, which is a mining settlement. And this road here, this line going up here, is the that's the Trader's Way, and it's a big major road, which I've discussed a few times. Actually, let me just go away, Thunderbird. Should turn that off. Hang on, Thunderbird. Come on, be gone. Close. Why aren't you working? Oh. It doesn't like me. Go away. Okay, I think that turned it off. Right. Just flash my email in front of everyone. Okay, so where was I before I got just rudely interrupted? So yeah, I probably should go to a different brush. Here we go. So I've got a pointer. So you've got the Trader's Way Road, and it runs up here through this big valley between these giant walls of the cube. And there are ruins and whatnot, and each of these little squares is a camping platform. So our intrepid adventurers, they arrived in the world of the cube here at the teleportation hub and this ruined settlement, and they adventured down here. That was where module 1 happens. Then module 2 happens basically here on the road, where they sort of get ambushed by, well, it actually happens here. So they meet a trade caravan here, and they travel 5 kilometers up to this platform, where they sleep for the night. And during the night, they are ambushed by the Rat King. And, the Rat King gives them an ultimatum that they can either help him with a problem that he has with his sons, or the characters can continue on the way, and he's going to just continue raiding travelers along the trader's way with his army of rats. So hopefully the party will decide to go with the Rat King and help him with his little problem. Now, this actually means that they actually go into the Rat King's forest, and they go back into this ruined settlement. And in this ruined settlement, if I go back to my pen and we zoom in a little bit, let's go to view 200%. So if I just make another layer, there we go. In here, so the Rat King basically has a settlement somewhere around here, and somewhere around here is the Font of Understanding, which I've already talked about in previous live streams. And the Font of Understanding, if I just get rid of that, is actually, if I go back to this thing, okay, this is the Font of Understanding. Let's go back to the ground floor. So this is the ground floor of the Font of Understanding, and this is what the characters are helping the Rat King get into. So this object of artifice is actually here. So, so it's actually around there. So that's where it is. So that's it. And that little square there was sort of to tell me that's where it is. But the Rat King's actual settlement is here. It's around about here. So the Rat King and his village actually lives here. So when the characters meet the Rat King and they decide to go with him, he's going to take them to the Rat King's village before he takes them to the shrine. Because the Rat King wants the characters to help him get into the shrine. The problem is that the shrine is guarded by two obelisks, here and here. Now these obelisks shoot out beams for about, say 20 feet, maybe. They shoot out beams about 20 feet, and they basically set things on fire that try and get into the Font of Understanding. So that's basically why he wants help getting into the Font of Understanding, and why he's sort of petitioned the players to help him. Now, what I want to do is, so when the characters first join the Rat King, he's going to bring them to his village. And there's a couple of interesting things about his village. His village is at a location where there are still standing ruins from this settlement. Because the characters arrived at the teleportation hub, and they discover, that there are broken, that there are ruins. There's nothing really there to see of the ruins. It's sort of like the only thing is left is there's the ground level, and then there's some bricks and maybe a bit of floor of what was a building. And there's, that's what these are. But there's nothing really to sort of scavenge. The whole thing's been wiped out. Everything above ground level got obliterated in a conflict that happened years and years and years and years ago. And there will be not illusions. I'll allude to what or who killed them long ago, because you do actually meet them in the adventure, and you find out that they're not very nice people. Well, actually, everybody in the past of this world was not very nice people. But I want to sort of flesh out this settlement. and I'm planning to do it today. Is sort of work out and draw it on, basically draw it on this sheet. But I've got this map open to sort of remind me the area that it's in. But it is basically a blank canvas. I've got a basic idea of what I want, and because I want to do a encounter that will sort of help give the characters an idea of how to get into this place. Because there's two ways to get into it. The first way is that you find a certain device, which is here at the front of the shrine. It's just outside the area that the obelisks can shoot, and it's this thing here. It's basically like a little pedestal with a little dome on it. But on the pedestal, as you can see, I've drawn here, there is a little hole, and you put, basically it's a marble. It's about inch, maybe an inch and a half round circular marble, but it's a special circular marble. It's sort of like currency that the original creators of the cube used to use. Now, this currency is it's basically a sphere. There are two types. There's the red type, and there's the blue. And they sort of look like they have like an inner glow, which is red or blue. But they look like a glass marble, effectively. Now, the blue ones are effectively magical energy. The red ones are effectively life energy. And there's a way later on that you can pull that energy out and you can use it. You can absorb it. So, for example, if it's life energy, you can basically pull out that life energy and it gives you years back to your life. Or it heals you or something like that. The blue one is basically, it replenishes your magical power and makes you stronger, and whatnot. So it's energy that wizards would genuinely be, they'd love to get their hands on it. But it's their currency. It's their currency. They basically trade and buy services from each other by exchanging energy. Now, if you have one of these orbs, you can put it into this little hole, and it'll go down like one of those. If you've ever seen one of those marble runs, the marble chases, where you've got two metal rods, and the ball rolls. If you've got the metal rods, the ball rolls along the metal rods. So that's what this is. This is basically one of those things. So you put the marble down there. It'll go down the chute, go underground, and it goes past a little device that's embedded in the ground that actually turns these obelisks off for a short period of time, which then allows you to get inside the shrine. So that's one way of being able to get inside the shrine, is using this object to get in. So my plan is that I'm going to sort of put these objects in a couple of places where the characters could find them. And the first, so that there's a couple in a back room of this shrine, but they need to get into the shrine first. So I'm going to strategically place them in the Rat King's settlement. And how I'm going to do that is two ways. One, there is an intelligent rat. I think it's Sketh. Sketh goes on a scavenger hunt through the ruins all the time, and because this is the old, magic user settlement, he's found all sorts of things, broken things mostly, but he has found a few of these orbs, and he has them in his collection, in the treasure collection of the Rat King. Because all of the objects that he finds, he gives to the Rat King as it would sort of be like giving it to the Rat King as showing his loyalty to the Rat King. But also at the same time, he uses them. He thinks he's buying favors because he's a little bit paranoid. This poor old rat. He's not a little bit paranoid. He's a lot paranoid. So he thinks he's buying favors from everyone by giving them objects in his little ratty mind. For example, Zek, who was another one of the rats, and it's actually his brother, is really, he's enamored by shiny things. So Sketh has given him a very shiny dagger that has a very shiny reflective blade, and he's given the dagger to Skek because he thinks Zek, Z-E-C, I think is how his name is pronounced. X-E-C, Zek. So he's given it to his brother, thinking that's bought his loyalty, that he could use him later on. But Zek is a pretty simple little fanatical rat monster, and he's just mesmerized by the shiny surface that he can see himself in. So he hasn't really bought his loyalty. He's just a crazy rat. But Sketh has a couple of these objects, and hopefully any magic users that are in the party will sort of see them and realize, ooh, that's an interesting thing. We might need that later on. And they'll try and get them off him. So that's one of the ways. The next way is that I'm going to have an encounter. 2 encounters. One, they're going to fight some giant insects. The second one is they're going to discover in the village, in the rat village, let's just actually start a new layer. Okay, I'll switch to white. There we go. So, in the village, there's going to be a manhole cover, because in the village, or the village is situated around some giant fruit trees. So so the fruit trees they're growing. So I'm going to assume each one of these is like a character square. So that's a character square like that. So there are these large obelisks, and they have a special purpose, these large obelisks. So I'll put another one here. They force plants to grow very large, or they force them to grow large fruit. That the large fruit, creatures that eat it, grow in size. Now, the whole idea originally was that and these are obelisks. So now this would be a path through here, and this is a special. This might be a stone, like a stone-lined edge through here, and we are, this is top-down, looking top-down. The whole idea is that these obelisks outline that's sort of like a stone edging. So this area here has a tree, and it would have large root system, gnarled roots that are coming out, and there's the main tree trunk. So it'd have big gnarly roots coming out from the base of the tree. Then you'd have the tree trunk here. And then you'd have, so sort of overhanging is the tree itself. And it's quite a big tree, like big, it'd be ancient now, a big ancient tree. So these obelisks would actually be underneath the tree, and there'd be another one here. So there's a set of obelisks here. And again, they are outlining a special area. And this one here, it has big gnarly roots. But the main, the main tree trunk's there. And again, it sort of overhangs this large area because it's all meant to look overgrown. Now these obelisks, and they'd be something like, let's say, they come down, say something like that, draw it in profile. And they'd have like a little base. And maybe some, but they'd have, little panels on them that would light up at night. So there'd be inscriptions or sort of gems or something rather embedded in them. Because the whole idea is that at night, these obelisks power up and they sort of enchant the trees. So any druids or magic users would be able to sort of look at these obelisks and at these trees, and they'd be able to go, these trees are being enchanted in some way by these obelisks. These obelisks power up and they enchant these trees. Now, one thing I'm planning to do is I'm planning to put here, I think here, and well, I'm planning to put a manhole, so I'll probably put a manhole cover. Probably around here somewhere. Actually, let's put it here. So let's get rid of this. Let's just zoom in a bit. 100%. Okay, so our manhole cover is going to be about here. And it's going to be an interesting little manhole cover. They don't want it to be something that they can just rip out of the ground, no problem. So we'll have, so it's going to have a bit of thickness to it. And it'll have a handle, have a handle, say here. And they'll have concentric circle carvings in it. Because it's meant to look like here we go. Something like that. But I want it to have something where in the hole there is two sort of points sticking out, and they come into a groove in the side of the manhole cover. But you can't just pull it straight out, so it sort of comes out, and then it sort of has like a turn to it. like so. So this sort of, it's like a curved groove. So you can't just pull it straight out. So you have to sort of like pull it up and then turn it. So it's just enough of a puzzle. It should be just enough of a puzzle that the characters will, your silly character will just grab it, yank it up, and go clonk. Oh, clonk, doesn't move. But your intelligent character will pull it up, go clonk, oh, and then probably try and turn it. And then they'll discover that if you pull it up, then turn it, it'll come out of the hole. So that's the manhole cover. So that's puzzle number 1. Then they'll get down into a sort of like a room underneath this area. So let's do that in a different color on a different layer. So let's do this in black. So they'll come down to, say, a simple little, this is a 10-foot room. Actually, let's just make it bigger. Let's make it more interesting. Let's make it a little bigger. So they'll come down into a 20-foot room. So it's a large room. Like we've got space to play with. So this area here. No, what have I done? Oh, this is in the wrong spot. So this would actually be about here. Something like that. Which then means if so my room would actually be about this big if I'm doing 20 feet by 20 feet. Go back to my pen. So it'd be about that big. About that big. And it would actually be about sort of there. Okay. Because what I'm thinking of doing is having this come down and having a couple of these obelisks that have these trees. Because the whole idea with these trees is that the trees actually they were planted with the intention of let me just draw that. I'm just getting a nice 5-foot by 5-foot corridor. So about there. So these obelisks, the intention is that they power the enchantment that makes these trees grow big. Because this settlement, their objective was that they used to cultivate these trees. These are like big mulberry trees. Think of it that way. And the mulberry trees are used to feed giant caterpillars, like silkworms. Because what this settlement used to do, well, they were famous for, is making magically enchanted silk garments. And they used enchanted mulberry trees to feed to their giant caterpillars, who would spin special silk that they could then turn into into you know, gloves or whatever it was. And there's sort of like so imagine having a system where you know, the silk is enchantable, so you could have this magic silk which you could make fireproof. You could have, you know, fireproof gloves, that sort of thing. But anyway, under the ground is going to be the artifice that they use to power these things, and the devices used to time it. So each of these obelisks has a foundation down underground, and they'd be sort of like a control panel-y type thing. So I'm thinking, what are you thinking about? So maybe they have a corner of the obelisk underground. So maybe it's only a 5-foot corner, like this, and then they have, say, a little chamber around each one, which then connects to a central area over here. And maybe there's a central chamber here. Which then has, so each of these it's sort of like a little circular chamber that then comes to passageway, like so, that then connects to here, and the manhole cover connects to the whole system. Now, the interesting thing that I'm planning to put down in the underground to sort of help the characters in a little way get into the font of understanding is there's going to be a dead person. I'm dead. You know, and there's going to be a bedroll, and maybe a table with some odd bits on it. And because this person hid out down here during the battle that wiped out this civilization. Unfortunately, he died down there as well. So I'm not certain. I'm not certain whether his leftovers, his skeleton, will be in, you know, something will have been done to it to give an idea of how he died, or whether it'll just be, you know, just be a skeleton. Maybe, you know, there'll be the skeleton and his arm is over here. Something like that. That's sort of up in the air, because I'm thinking that this settlement was devastated and razed, and who raised it deliberately wiped it out down to the ground, to make certain that, you know, there's nothing to come back to, and that whoever was there originally, they're not going to, you know, they're not going to have anything to rise from again. So it would be, you know, pretty devastating. But yeah, this underground complex is mainly to support the growth of caterpillars and the harvesting of silk. So this underground complex is all about basically the maintenance of these obelisks and these trees. Pardon me. And at this, there'd be a ladder going up, and in the roof would be the hole that you come down from above. But so you'd come down to here. So in this room is going to be a power system. And I'm thinking I'm going to steal the power system from where is it? Where's my designs? Yes, yeah, the power system from the Font of Understanding, which is going to be this thing. This thing. Because I want to give them one of these power cores. So I'm going to. So what I'm planning on having. Let me just make my eraser a bit bigger. There we go. So I'm planning on having one of these devices, or something similar to this, in. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I'm planning on having one of these power devices in here, and it'll be connected to these devices by cables running along the floor. So the big copper tubes and whatnot will be running along the floor to these devices. And there'll be a device on the wall, I'm thinking, about here, that governs, and there'll be, again, copper tubes running between them. So this power core really only turns on at night. So the whole idea is that there's a timing device. And then this is the power core. These are control panels. Control panels, that should actually look like an S. Control panels for obelisk. And that's in each of these little alcove-y type things, because what I could do, now that I think about it, I could make these fully circular and have like a support frame in here. So let's assume that we have a circular chamber. Right, and there's a corridor coming off this way. So there's actually, like, you know, this comes here. Then we've got the floor around the back. But then we have, coming from the, so this would be the roof section. So there would be a framework holding this up. So there'd be a bit there. Maybe it's got a support up to here. Same here. And then it has copper devices coming down into this area from the roof. So the cables from out in here come along the ground, and then they come into here, and then maybe they turn up. So maybe there's two cables. They turn up and they go into some sort of device. So maybe there's a bit here, and there's like another piece on top that goes up into the roof. That could be a way do it. It would look far more interesting than just a control panel. Even though a control panel would probably be way easier to design, I think this is far more interesting. And it would give the players bits that they could pull out and give me something interesting to render in 3D. Because this device will be similar to, so for example, that device is going back to the original design, there's the cone, then you have the spinning, this spins when it's on, and then it has another cone, because then electricity gets zzz, 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 zzz. Does that sort of thing. That's the basic idea. And then it has, so this goes to a pedestal that's connected to the roof, and this is all, you know, stone and copper. Maybe there's a copper panel here, copper panel there. So there'll be, so my plan is to have most of them, but not all of them, running. And because they only turn on at night, there's going to be a panel, and it'll have a, you know, have a piece here, and it's split. So one section will be dark, one section will be light, and let's say it's done into quarters, and then this turns, or actually go that way, go clockwise. This turns with the hours, and then this point determines when it's going to turn on. So if the black, if the dial comes around and, you know, the pointer is in black, it'll turn on. So it's a very simple sort of little telltale device that says when this comes on, and it'll just be, you know, it'll be on the wall, in a, just a panel. It's a nice simple timing device, and then it has, you know, cables, copper cables coming down, which then, because this would be on the wall here, and then it has copper cables coming down, and then they connect into the base of this device, which may be something like so. So that's the idea for the timing and power generator. So each one of these would be in each of these rooms. So that would be the timing system that is in each of these rooms. So for example, so this is the main layout that I plan to use. I don't know if I'll do this. I'll probably do it, but because it'll just be the same thing in each chamber. So then we've got it over here as well. So this is just my rough map of what I'm going to design. Actually, what would probably be better is if if I hide that, instead of having this manhole cover here, because I want to have multiples of this. So there would be, if I go over this way, go back to white, there'll be another one here. So I'll have 4 of these. And the manhole cover would actually be here. So if the manhole cover's there, instead of here, so I get rid of that. And all this is under cover of these giant trees. So if I so we've got another obelisk here, and we've got one here and here. It means I'm going to have to design a tree for each place. Then they've each got like a little brick or some sort of stone carved outline that sort of, designates that this is where, because I might have it that during the night when these things turn on, anyone who's in this space gets nauseous, because the enchantment's trying to affect everything that's in these spaces, including the caterpillars. So hopefully this will be enough design work to give each player an idea that this is something to investigate. These giant caterpillars are something to investigate. Now, the reason this is going to be also a fight area, because what I want to have happen is that the rats will sort of bring them to this area. So the Rat King's going to bring them to this area to sort of show them this device, and he'll sort of like say, oh, maybe you can tell us, we've established our warrens here, but maybe you can tell us what you think this is. So there we go. So we've got tree in each bit. We've got the manhole cover. And then there'll be, this is the pathway. Around like that. And then the trees, trees. So the tree canopy will have to be an overlay, I think, in maps. Because I know Fantasy Grounds can handle having overlays. I think, foreground layers. I'm pretty certain Roll20 has started to bring in a foreground layer. And I know I can do it in Foundry. Foundry will let me do it. So it should be easy to put in the canopy of these big trees as a foreground layer. That maybe players might want to climb the trees or something like that. But how the encounter is going to work is that there are going to be grubs in these trees. Great big huge grubs, like grubs the size of your arm. And they are the silkworm grubs. Now the rats themselves are going to, they've eaten the grubs themselves, but they're starting to cultivate them because they've found that they make silk. And they've found books on how to cultivate the silk. So I'm thinking the rats will sort of slowly form a society where they're going to take over cultivating the silk of these giant worms. But these trees and the fruit from these trees has had effects upon other creatures, including praying mantis. So there's going to be an attack of some praying mantis coming in to eat the giant grubs and the player characters and the rats. So everybody's going to have to fight against the giant praying mantis. Now it should be an easy fight because I'm not going to, make them. I'm not going to make them huge, like bigger than a person. They're just going to be like big. Because your average praying mantis is only a couple of inches long. I'll make them, maybe a foot, 2 foot long. That should be terrifying enough. And they're trying to eat the grubs. So it's more a case of trying to shoo them away. So it'll be, an interesting interaction. Something that hopefully won't get the characters killed. Because I don't want to do it like that. I want to kill them in different ways. But anyway, this layout changes how I do the underground. Because now I need to chop out this section. So this is where the manhole cover came down, but we're going to be moving it now. So we're moving it over here. So that's where the manhole cover comes down now. Which means that we've got the foundations of these. So let's change this a little bit. So we're not going to have a square room. Well, we could, but we'd have to do it smaller. In fact, I think we'll do it smaller. So it's now going to be this big. Because it's under the foundations of these. So this skeleton so there's going to be because part of my idea is that there's a skeleton, there's a dead guy. Maybe he's not in here. Maybe he's not down inside here. Because let's make this underground area. Let's make it to come out like this. So it comes out here. And then it attaches to here. And it would do the same over this side. So it connects up here and here. I think like that. So we've got so we've then got a power core here, and we're going to have. So let me get rid of all of my arrows and whatnot, and I'm just going to copy. I should actually write on a different layer. Put my notes on a different layer. This whole thing is rough. A little rough design. So let's get rid of this timing device text. There we go. So this thing, if I go to edit, cut, and edit, paste. So we've got one there, so we go to edit, paste. Then we'd have another one here. Then we go edit, paste. Select, deselect, and move it down. Okay, then we have. Let's just flip it over. So layer, hang on. I think I can do it this. Yep. Let's just flip this around. And then it's going to be here. Then we have another one here. So let's just bring all these together. So merge selected. Oops, I think I did that to everything. So undo that, get rid of that layer. Merge selected. Okay. So let's just pencil this in a bit better. So we've got our corridors coming along here. We've got each of our machines. We've got our manhole cover. So that's basically our underground dungeon. So then what we want to do is we want to work out how do we want to put in the dead guy? And should we put in some broken bits? Because I'm thinking some of these power cores should be unpowered. In some way. How to do that becomes the question, or should I do it a special way? Or maybe because this guy had been hiding out under here, maybe we should make it more of a hideout. So he's sort of put some things in that, maybe he survived a while down here, but he just, ran out of food or something like that. Probably have to think on that a little bit, but this is the idea of the underground layer. So let's just so underground. So let's say that this one is powered. So this one's powered. This one is missing power core. And maybe make the tree that is over a bit wilted. Like it's growing well, but it's a bit so that one's powered. This one's powered. Maybe make this one running out of power. So how would we do that? So maybe it's a problem with the device that we could have that the fella who was living in here, he was trying to fix. Maybe he was trying to fix this device. He was trying to repair it. So that's the device that we have, and then we've got coming out from the base cables. Where to go from here? So, see, this is why you need to sort of like, you need to spend your time working out how you're going to do these things. So maybe that comes up into a larger piece at the ceiling. Like that. So this is going to be, and these cubes, I was thinking about these cubes that they will be, originally I was thinking of having like a glowing cube that is encased in a that has like a frame, like a cage. Now I'm thinking of a silver cube, and then harking back to, you know, the world that it's on, it has these cutout pieces which sort of look like miniature mazes, and it's these cutout pieces that sort of glow and that reveal the glowing cube-like object inside them, inside each of these. So they have sort of, you know, cutout pieces. Like obviously I'd make this better when I go to actually design it properly. Maybe this has got a cutout piece here. Something like that. Something like that. So that it's, and then this stuff glows. So that glows in there, in those recessed areas. Like that. That sort of thing. Something like that. And then it's that cube is the power source. Power cube. Power cub. Power cube. So it's that power cube, or that design of object. So it's like that. So something like that. So this is, you know, nice shiny metal surface. And I'm not certain how, like the inside is sort of like a compact crystal type thing that glows, and when it doesn't have energy, it looks rather, you know, dull, used out. So that would be that object. Don't know why I'm drawing it floating, but there you go. So yeah, that's the sort of thing. And then that goes into the machine. That's what powers it, or provides the access to power. So I think maybe we could have, then we could have one of these machines that is maybe, say it's a bit broken. So we have sort of this the cone at the top, and maybe there's a panel which has been taken off. And it shows, maybe the inner workings. The panel would be sitting down on the floor. Maybe there's another panel. Sitting around the side, and again, it's and then have like a little base. That's from this base where the pipes come out, the copper pipes come out that run down to each of the obelisks. Something like that. And so, the pieces would be sitting on the floor. Where the guy had been working on them. And the cube, which should be in here. Maybe it's it doesn't work, or maybe the clock on the wall, which would be here. Maybe that the dial's been taken out. So all you've got's this, and there's no dial. So that could be a way to demonstrate that it's a little bit busted. That's sort of the idea. So that's the idea for the underground layer, and we could have. So if this is the broken. And then maybe we could have then the guy's body is in here. So we could then maybe have, then to give you an idea that there's somebody here, so we could have a bedroll. Little table, and some snacks and stuff. Maybe some glass bowls and maybe a crate. So that could be where the guy's been hanging out. Maybe have a pot over in the corner or something. So that gives the idea that so this guy sought refuge in these tunnels, down with these machines, and maybe over time he was trying to fix this, and maybe he electrocuted himself. as he was trying to repair this machine. So that could be, that could be why. Dead body. Why actually? Skeleton. So that could be that. That could be the dead guy. So I think that's what I want for my underground layer. So if we go back to the top layer, so we have where the trees grow. We have this. Now we might have. So this gets to be where we've got all the broken down buildings around here. All the destroyed buildings will be around here, but we'd have sort of like a bit of a spacing between these trees and these buildings. So there might be a building, say, here. Now you got to remember, there's no building left. It's been destroyed. Maybe there's another bit of a building here. But this will be where we start to see the rats are putting in, their homes. So we have, say, like, the rubble of a wall here. And then we have a rat burrow here. And maybe because the rat burrows that I envisage, they've sort of made them, so they have sort of like so the rat burrows are still basically a hole, going down into a warren that the rats go down, but they're a lot larger now. So the rats have basically built like little house entrances. So you've got the entrance, a bit of dirt here. Then you've got the actual hole. So they've come along and they've built little roofs. So you've got like little columns supporting a roof. Like so. I'm just really quickly sketching this out. So this is sort of like how they're handling their homes now. Maybe they've got like a little pot with some flowers, or they've got maybe a box sitting out the front of their home. So if you were looking at it from above, how would we do this? So you would see a little roof. Little roof like so. Maybe. And then you'd see, the dirt coming in. And the warren sort of is like a big mound at the back of this. Sort of like a ratty hobbit hole. And then you'd find another one sort of here. So it'd be another little roofy type thing. And so maybe they've taken the bricks from here to shore up the sides of the mound that they've got their little warren, because everything's an underground little home, and that would be in the ruins of, say, like a house. Then you could have maybe this is a big thick wall. So I'd get rid of this. Then you might have, another little entrance. this is the, you know, the dirt sort of coming into the entrance, the grass coming into the entrance. And then there could be another one, you know, basically right in the street. You know, right here. Right there like that. You know, it just attaches up. Oops. I think I accidentally switched brushes. Oops, no, I switched colors. I think I was accidentally holding the wrong button on my pen. There we go. So it could be something like that. And then, you know, there's this mound here. And so this becomes like the rat village. And these building walls would basically be, you know, if we imagine ground level, it'd be like, you know, a brick, maybe another brick, another brick. So it's all like, it's basically the ruins, only the stuff that's been left above ground. Because if you look at ancient sites, quite often you'll find you'll find the remnants of a wall, and it'll just be like lines of bricks that have been left behind, you know, pretty much at ground level, outlining that there once was a building there. Like that. So, you know, your actual building floor print's that, but the only thing is that's left is these actual chunks of bricks. Left behind. Then we could have and all of these warrens would be something that would go underground. So for example, so you'd have, you know, that's the ground level, and the warren sort of comes like that. And then you've got, you know, whatever ratty chambers they live in, and then they've got a mound of dirt, and then they've got their roof, which they've constructed, because they're civilized rats now. So that's the basic idea of each of these little rat homes. I'll just grab that, pull that out of the way. So that's sort of the idea that I'm sort of toying with for how these giant rats are living now. And they're just using like scraps of wood to put these together. So, you know, you've got some grass. And you know, that's the entrance into a little ratty home where one of these giant rats would be living. And I'd sort of space them, like something like this, out around. Where's my zoom? That's a rotate. The zoom. So I'd sort of space these around this sort of area. Oops. I don't know why that's sort of moved around, but yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking about for the whoops. Select all. But yeah, I think, you know, I've got to think about it a little bit more what I'm going to do for this next adventure. But that's the basic idea at this point in time. Something like that. Actually, I think to this. I think I've accidentally moved my grid off center. But that's sort of what I'm thinking about. So there'll be these giant trees, which are mulberries that are feeding the grubs. The grubs are being harvested for the silk. The encounter is that a big praying mantis will attack the village. Big praying mantis. There he is. So he'll attack. So the praying mantis is mainly coming in after the grubs that are at the village. But the praying mantis, you know, it won't pass up a little rat as well, because it is a giant, hungry praying mantis. So the characters will get a chance to help fight off the praying mantis and help the rats, but also hopefully they'll discover the manhole, which will then take them down into the the underground layer. Well, they will discover these objects. Now, this comes back to the idea that I originally started this entire thing out with, that I wanted the characters to discover the skeleton, because on the skeleton will be the little orbs, magic orbs. Magic orb on the skeleton. So that's where they could get the magic orb if they don't manage to get it from somewhere else first. Which then the somewhere else first would be one of the other rats that explores the area. But that's basically my plan. So once the rats are done, once the camping is done in this area and they've explored this, they can then go off to the Font of Understanding and have a chance of getting in without having to climb the wall and risk falling off the giant mountain wall. But I hope you've had fun watching me meddle through working out what I'm going to do for the next adventure. I try to do these streams every now and then to nut out what I'm doing for building this adventure world. If you enjoy my stream, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll hopefully have more soon, and yeah, it'll be fun and interesting to go through. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next Monday. Although I may actually start streaming at a different time, because Mondays there doesn't seem to be a lot of people around. So who knows? We'll try a different hour and see what happens. Catch you all later. if I can figure out how to change scenes. Thank you.